My family forced me to marry my dead mother's husband. I was 17 when my mother died of cancer, leaving behind my stepfather Richard, who'd married her just 2 years earlier. At her funeral, my grandmother pulled me aside with tears in her eyes and said the most horrifying words I'd ever heard. "You need to marry Richard to keep the family fortune intact." My mother had inherited $12 million from my biological father's estate when he died in a plane crash. She'd married Richard, a charming lawyer 20 years younger, who'd convinced her to put everything in his name for tax purposes. Now, with her gone, the only way to keep the money in our bloodline was through an obscure inheritance law that allowed next of kin to marry the surviving spouse. My aunts cornered me in the kitchen that night, explaining how Richard would get everything if I didn't act fast. Your cousin's college funds, your grandmother's medical bills, everything depends on this marriage. My Uncle Frank, who'd been managing the family businesses, showed me documents proving Richard was already meeting with realtors about selling our ancestral home. I tried to refuse, but they'd already arranged everything. The marriage license was backdated, claiming we'd married secretly before Mom died. The judge who'd sign it owed my uncle a favor from decades ago. My signature had been forged on prenuptial agreements that would transfer all assets back to the family trust after 6 months of marriage. Richard played the grieving widower perfectly in public, while privately telling me he'd destroy our entire family if I didn't comply. I know about your cousin's drug dealing, your aunt's tax fraud, your uncle's embezzlement from the company. One phone call and everyone goes to prison. He moved me into the master bedroom the day after the funeral, though I slept on the floor. 3 months into this nightmare, I discovered something that changed everything. While organizing Mom's belongings, I found her real will hidden inside a hollowed-out book. She'd never changed anything to Richard's name. The lawyer who'd supposedly handled the estate changes had been dead for 2 years. Every document Richard showed us was forged. I contacted Mom's actual lawyer, who'd been frantically trying to reach us. Richard had intercepted all communication, even hiring someone to impersonate him on phone calls. The real will left everything to me in an ironclad trust that Richard couldn't touch. She'd known exactly what kind of man she'd married and protected her assets accordingly. My mother had also left a safety deposit box with video recordings. She'd installed hidden cameras throughout the house after discovering Richard was stealing from her. The footage showed him adding substances to her medication, doubling her doses while she was confused from chemo. She'd been building a case against him, but died before she could act. The police arrested Richard during what he thought would be our wedding photo shoot. He'd invited journalists to document our union, planning to use the publicity to cement his claim to the fortune. Instead, they photographed him being handcuffed for murder, fraud, forgery, and attempted bigamy. The fake marriage documents became evidence of his elaborate scheme. My family members who'd pressured me into the marriage were arrested as co-conspirators. Turns out Richard had promised them each a cut of the inheritance for their help. My grandmother got 2 years for fraud. My aunts and uncle faced federal charges for conspiracy. The cousin whose drug-dealing Richard threatened to expose was actually an undercover cop who'd been investigating the family's financial crimes for months. Richard got life in prison. During the trial, 3 other women came forward with similar stories of him marrying sick, wealthy women who died mysteriously. I inherited everything as my mother intended, but used most of it to pay restitution to Richard's other victims' families. The house is mine now, thoroughly cleaned of hidden cameras and bad memories. I'm 23, in therapy, and learning that family isn't about blood or money, but about who actually protects you when monsters circle close.